Hi there, this is Craig Hain. My students call me Dr. Dell, and I want to talk to you about the book that you've clicked on the tab on our website. 21st Century Mathematics was what I originally called it, a high school curriculum that works for all students. And this was really a limited edition that I used with just some of my colleagues for comments and feedback. And now we are going to be releasing a new edition, which is really for the general public. And one of the things that we've done is we've decided to title it Teaching Math. Some of my colleagues said, look, it is about 21st century mathematics and it's about high school math, but really what it's about is teaching math, so why don't you just call it exactly what it's about? So that's what we did. And this is a facsimile of what's going to be on the cover of the book when it comes out. Particularly, there'll be two versions of it, a paperback version and then also a Kindle version. And the content is essentially the same in both of them, although I much prefer the paperback version because of the formatting that I can do that you cannot do with the Kindle. Kindle is basically designed for text only, really, and so you can't do a lot of the formatting that you would do, but that's not too much of a handicap. Now, I think it would be a disaster in a textbook. I can't really quite imagine doing a math textbook in Kindle format, but this isn't a textbook. It's really a book aimed at people that want to know more about teaching math and are concerned with that subject. So let me talk to you about it. First of all, on the back cover of the new book, I make a promise to you, and I think this is very important, and we'll let you know whether or not this is a book you would want to read. If you learn and practice what you will learn in this book, then you'll be able to provide your students an excellent high school math education. Now that's aimed at either parents or teachers, and actually for students that are really looking for something on their own. I go ahead to say you may be assured that thanks to modern technology, you'll be able to provide your students this excellent high school math education at a reasonable cost, regardless of your background or skills. And that's really aimed now at people that are going to take the responsibility of teaching their own students. This could be homeschool teachers, or it could be parents that are concerned that their students are not doing well enough in their regular high school math, whether they're in a public school or a private school or whatever. So this book is really designed to explain to you, the reader, just what it is that it takes to offer your students a really fine math education today. Let me talk about the contents. I blew this up so that you could perhaps see this a little better. The table of contents, first of all, I start off with some comments at the beginning, and I tell you a story. It's really kind of my story, as you'll find out, but I think it's a story that's not untypical, particularly the first part of it, of students today based on a lot of feedback I've had. And then I have a section with only one chapter, and I call it The Problem. And the problem today is that we have a high school math curriculum in this country, I'm talking the United States now, that is really failing our students at many levels, both our weaker students and our stronger students both. In fact, I think in a certain sense it's not serving any of our students very well. And that's what this book is all about. And so, of course, I will be explaining that to you in some detail. This is about a 10-page chapter. And so I start out, and I'll just talk a little bit about it. I start right off and I tell you in a nutshell what the problem is. I feel like our curriculum today at the high school level is much too compartmentalized. And of course I have to explain what that means, which I do in the book. And it does not use the power tools of math. And this is really, really important today in 21st century mathematics, and you need to read this and understand it. And then finally, our curriculum today, because it's taught in a factory mode, is not really interactive and self-paced enough. And these three things together are really what has led to what I consider to be the failure of our modern high school math curriculum. And I've been involved in this for decades now, so I've experienced it both as a student and as a teacher at different levels. I've taught it at the high school level, and I know the frustrations high school teachers have. And by the way, it's not the teacher's fault, really. It's the way the whole system has evolved, which I make very, very clear in here, that it's not the fault of the math teachers. In fact, I think they're kind of heroes today, given the situation that they are in. And it's really a systemic problem. And it has evolved. It's sort of the way the whole system has evolved. And I talk a lot about that. And so that's really the first chapter, in a kind of gives you the thesis of the book in a nutshell in about 10 pages. Now, what do you do about it? Well, first of all, I want to share some facts and ideas with you. So I talk about what I think you must understand if you're ever going to be an effective math teacher or present mathematics to your students. And I call it the Effective Math Education Triad. In fact, we've named our company that's promoting this Triad Math Inc. And this you need to really understand. In fact, you can click a tab on our website and see some videos on that, so I won't elaborate on it here. But there's really three indispensable components in delivering a successful math education to your student. And if you miss on any one of them, you're going to probably have a less than successful outcome, probably, and maybe even outright failure. Then I talk in a chapter on the power tools of modern math. And this is really important. In fact, I talk about 4 specific power tools that I believe we should be using today as we teach our children mathematics and why we need to use them. It not only helps them learn math, it helps them apply math. And it's just the way our whole technology has evolved, and it's very important. And I don't see this happening nearly adequately in our schools. And then I do have a message to high school math teachers I call a modern imperative for high school math ed, where I really put out a call to teachers to understand the things I'm talking about and to incorporate in what they're doing. I'll come back and talk about the interludes later. This is something I've added to the new edition of the book. Chapter 4, I then talk about mathematics education resources. Now, there's quite a number of those today, and they're marvelous. A lot of them are online. In fact, that's pretty much what I talk about. Some are free, some you have to pay for, but there really is no excuse today not to provide your student with an outstanding math education given the resources that are available, and I talk about that. And then I want to just tell you about what I consider to be a solution to our modern situation. And so I outline for you in some detail what I consider to be a good modern 21st century high school math curriculum. And I use something that I've actually created that I'm using with some students as a model so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. It's one thing to talk about it, it's another to do it. And so I actually not only will tell you what I believe you should do, but I will tell you how to do it and what resources to get. I then talk about our math ed delivery system, and that's really the genesis of our problems today, and there's not much we can do about it without a pretty significant change in our schools, and I talk about that. But it could be a financial salvation for our high schools, and I talk about that. They're in financial trouble today, we all know that, and what I'm suggesting could actually deliver them from this problem. I have a chapter I call the Matheracy Imperative, and I really talk about our modern civilization and economy and what's required to be successful in it. And as a matter of fact, I'm very upbeat. I think the future is very, very bright for people that are properly educated. And that today, for many people, must include mathematics, where it didn't used to have to be that way in the previous economy. I talk about the second and third wave economies. And then I talk about the ultimate benefits to society if we will make these changes. And so I highly recommend, if you're interested in these things, that you read this. And then I have what I call a coda, and this is really aimed at parents of students that are really, really bright at math and may want to become mathematicians. They're really getting shortchanged tremendously in our current system, and I talk a lot about that and what you can do about it, and I even offer you a resource that solves that problem. And it's what I call Dr. Dell's tiers 7 through 10. There's a 10-tier system that I have created, and the last 4 tiers are really aimed just at students that are going to be future mathematicians. And I end the book with a call to action. Whether you're a parent or a teacher, or for that matter, a student, there's things you should do that you can do today very easily, very cost effectively, that will solve these problems. Now let me conclude by talking about these interludes. This is something that I have added to the new edition of the book after getting feedback from a lot of the people that read it. They said, hey, we love the content. It really makes a good point. It lets people know exactly at least what you believe, whether they agree with you or not. They know where you stand, and they can certainly bounce your ideas off against their own thoughts. But how about giving them some actual practical things they can use in their math education of their students, particularly those that are teachers, whether they're homeschool teachers or, for that matter, high school teachers. And so I put in 6 interludes. And the very first one, I talk about a triangle problem that is the way we teach people to do certain things with triangles in what I call the foundation course. This is the practical math course that you'll learn about on another tab. And really it's the basis. It's the first 2 tiers of the 10-tier system. And you'll learn all about it. You need to learn about it, but I don't want to, on this video, talk about it because I have a complete video on it on the tab down there that says foundational course. But in any event, that's a problem that comes out of there. I have a second problem then, second interlude with a second problem here on page 46. And it also talks about a triangle problem. And then I have a third one that comes on page 59. And it really is, this is actually quite something. It's 5 videos actually that when you go on. The way this works, by the way, there'll be a single page in your book that will talk about the problem, the interlude, it'll explain something, and then it will give you a link to some videos that you can only get to if you know the address to get to them, which of course is in the book. So this is really designed for readers of this book. I'm not going to make them available to the general public because I want them to be done in context. And so this really will give you quite a discussion, these first 3 interludes, on mathematics at its most fundamental level that you should be teaching your students right off the bat. And then the 4th interlude is something I call Archimedes' Tombstone, which is also something we do in the foundation course. I want to discuss that with you too in the video in the book. Now I'm going to go back and show you the cover of the book. In the cover of the book at the bottom, there are 3 different mathematical figures. And this one's not quite right. That should be a square root sign. So what you've got here is you've got a triangle. This sides are 3, 4, and 6. And then there's a number down here, 5.33. Now, if you study my materials at all and you know mathematics and you're a teacher, you'll know what this means. And in fact, the whole 3rd interlude is based on this. I actually have 5 videos that are a takeoff of this that I think are very educational if you are a teacher of mathematics. And it's really, these interludes are aimed at teachers. And then this is the Archimedes Tombstone figure, which of course I talk about in the 4th interlude. And then the last 2 interludes are really aimed at upper tier level teachers that are going beyond foundational math in what I call the upper tiers. And the square root of -1, which is commonly called I, or the imaginary number I, and what is it if you take and raise it to its own power, I to the I power. And then there's a number here, and that's what it is. And if you understand mathematics the way a high school math teacher ought to understand it, especially if you go beyond the most fundamentals, then this will be meaningful to you. If not, you definitely will want to watch those interludes because that's where I discuss that. That's actually the last interlude, number 6. What is I to the I power? And the 5th interlude was somewhere here. Archimedes' Tombstone, and then then the 5th interlude was complex numbers and trigonometry. And you really need to understand, I talk a lot about that in the book, as to why this is a gaping hole in our current system. In spite of all of its other weaknesses, another huge weakness is it doesn't deal with complex numbers properly. And I explain why that is. So in any event, this is a rather long video, but it's telling you what's in the book. I would highly encourage you to get a copy of it if you're interested in teaching math. You can get a Kindle copy of it, and what I like about that is it's inexpensive. It's less than $10, and Kindle gives you a 7-day trial. So if you're not sure if you would like this, read the description first of the Kindle book, and then after you read the description, which is a lot of what I've said in this video, buy the book, and you've got 7 days to read it and evaluate it and so on. And of course, I hope that you will agree with me on a lot of the things that I'm telling you and take action, particularly if you're responsible for some student. The paperback you can buy on this website if you choose to, or you can buy it at Amazon. It's more money. It costs a little bit more, but I think it's a better format, and I would certainly recommend the paper book to you if you are interested. We often use that when we go to trade shows and things like that. So anyway, this is Dr. Dell, or Craig Hain. I'm getting used to calling myself Dr. Dell on these videos because most of my videos are aimed at students. And so this is Dr. Dell. I'm signing off. I wish you the best in teaching math, and I encourage you to look at some of the other videos on this website. Have a great day. Bye-bye.